We continue reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are on chapter 2, text 72. Esha Brahmi Sthiti Partha Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati Sthit Vasyam Antakalepi Brahma Nirvanam Richati. That is the way of the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So what is, Krishna is continuing to give knowledge to Arjuna. So he's saying, what is the way of spiritual and godly life? He gave so much knowledge to him. And then what he said, a person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, you cannot artificially stop the senses, but you connect the senses to me. You like to always think of something, think of me. You like to see something, see my deity form, see my devotees. You like to eat something, you eat Krishna Prasad. You like to speak something, speak about Krishna. You like to hear something, hear about Krishna. Then what will happen? That is true desirelessness. That desiring to be with Krishna is true desirelessness. And then when we do that, then our false ego will, we can, that means we are giving up our false ego. This is the way to give up our false ego. Bhakti. That's the only way, because then we are understanding I'm a part and parcel of Krishna. That is our true ego. I have an eternal relationship with Krishna. I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. That is true ego. And then in that way, we know everything belongs to Krishna, nothing belongs to me. And so then we are peaceful. Krishna is taking care of me. Whatever is happening is by Krishna's grace. So why should I worry? I'm a child in the hands of Lord Krishna. So why shall I worry? And then we can be peaceful. And so Krishna is saying that this is the way of spiritual and godly life. If we want to be spiritual and godly, this is the way. And then if we do that, then what happens? We won't be bewildered. Our confusion will be gone. We won't be any more confused what to do, what's happening, what am I supposed to do? We know what to do. Just connect to Krishna, and we are doing it. So if one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So Krishna is saying, even if at the hour of death we understand this, we just have to understand this. The true ego, what is our true ego? I'm a part and parcel of Krishna. I have a loving relationship with Krishna. I'm a servant of Krishna. Krishna is my master. And even if at the time of death we can understand this, we don't need to come back to this material world. We get mukti, liberation, moksha, go back to the kingdom of God. So one can attain Krishna consciousness or divine life at once, within a second. Or one may not attain such a state of life even after millions of births. It is only a matter of understanding and accepting the fact. So it depends on us. Do we want to accept the fact? Do we want to understand the fact? So see Srila Prabhupada's choice of words. It's a fact that we have to be Krishna conscious. Whether we accept it or not, that depends on us. Whether we want to understand or not, that depends on us. So we may accept it in 1 second, or we may never accept it. You know, millions and millions of births have gone and we are like, why? I have nothing to do with Krishna. I am the Supreme Lord myself. If we continue in that way, we are not accepting the fact. The choice is ours. Katwanga Maharaj attained this state of life just a few minutes before his death by surrendering unto Krishna. So Katwanga Maharaj, he was able to do it just before his death. He fixed his mind at the lotus feet of Krishna. He was fighting on the part of the demigods for a long, long time. For a long time, he was fighting for the demigods. And then They finally won, and the demigods were happy, and they told him, what do you want? We are happy with you. What do you want? He said, tell me, how long do I have? How much time do I have to live before I give up this body? They said, you just have a moment. He said, bring me back to this earthly planet. He came here, he fixed his mind on Krishna, and that's how he attained perfection, went back to the spiritual world, because he fixed his mind on Krishna. Now he knew that, okay, I have a moment to live. And he was able to, even in that moment, to fix his mind on Krishna. Now if somebody tells us you have a moment to live, what confusion will go on in our mind? If we are not trained to think of Krishna, we are going to think of all sorts of things. We'll get fearful, we'll get confused, we'll think of our loved ones, we might think of our possessions, what's going to happen. That so many different things will come to our mind. So if we think, okay, Khatwanga Maharaj did this few minutes before his death, he fixed his mind, he surrendered to Krishna a few minutes before his death. So I can do that. Why shall I do it now? What's all this? Let me enjoy right now. And when the time comes when I'm going to die, that time I'll surrender to Krishna. But if we have not practiced, we won't be able to do it. Because the mind is always going to think what we are used to thinking. At the moment of death, the mind will think of whatever it's used to thinking. So it's in our self-interest that we take up this hearing and chanting with enthusiasm. We take it up with enthusiasm so that at least at the time of death, we'll be able to remember Krishna. Death has to come. Death has to come, and we have to take another body. Now it depends on us. We want a spiritual body or we want to have a material body. The choice is ours. So nirvana means ending the process of materialistic life. Nirvana means end the process of material life, no more material life. According to Buddhist philosophy, there is only void after the completion of this material life. But Bhagavad Gita teaches differently. Actual life begins after the completion of this material life. It doesn't mean that after we give up material life, we have understood, okay, I'm not the body, that I'm the spirit soul, I'm Brahman, and that's the end. No, that is the beginning. That is the beginning. That is what Bhagavad Gita is saying. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling to Arjuna, hey, you're not the body, you're the soul. Dehi no asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavana jara. He says, Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, text 13, right in the beginning, Krishna is giving this knowledge. You're not the body, you're the soul. And so because you're the soul, what should you do? You have activities as a soul. So that's the reason that the bhakti process, it begins from the point of liberation. It begins from the point of nirvana. It begins from the point of mukti. Actual life begins after the completion of this material life. For the gross materialist, it is sufficient to know that one has to end this materialistic way of life. But for persons who are spiritually advanced, there is another life after this materialistic life. So the gross materialist, the gross materialist are who they don't want to understand about Brahman or spirit or spiritual. No, I'm just this body. I just want to understand this. That's it. That's what I'm going to live. But there are people who want to understand the spirit soul, who already understand the spirit soul. Then, if they understand that I'm the spirit soul, they need to understand that, okay, they need to understand that, okay, I'm going to give up this body sooner or later. And because I'm the spirit soul, I'm eternal. So where am I going to go? What's my destination? So before ending this life, if one fortunately becomes Krishna conscious, he at once attains the stage of Brahma Nirvana. That is what we should try to do. So by good fortune, if we can become Krishna conscious, what happens in this life? Not not after giving up the body. Right now, because we have the body, we have this tool. This body is a tool for us to become Krishna conscious. And then what is that stage called? Brahma Nirvana. That is the stage of Brahma Nirvana. So there is no difference between the kingdom of God and the devotional service of the Lord, since both of them are on the absolute plane to be engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord is to have attained the spiritual kingdom. So the Supreme Lord, he's on the absolute platform. The spiritual world is on the absolute platform. Bhakti or devotional service is on the absolute platform. It's not material. It's not material. So by engaging in bhakti, transcendental loving service, this is a loving exchange, a loving reciprocation between Krishna and the living entity. That means mukti, that is liberation, that is being in the spiritual world, because we have nothing to do with material world then. We are only Krishna conscious. How can I please Krishna? How can I make Krishna happy? And Krishna is loving us. He is also increasing our bliss. He is also thinking, how can I make this devotee happy? It's a beautiful, loving exchange between the living entity and Krishna. In the material world, there are activities of sense gratification, whereas in the spiritual world, there are activities of Krishna consciousness. So here in the material world, all our activity is sense gratification. The eyes want to see something, the tongue wants to taste something, eat something, the mind wants to think something, the ears want to hear something, the tongue wants to speak something, we want to touch something, we want to go here, we want to go there. So all is sense gratification. But in the spiritual world, each and every activity is in Krishna consciousness, is in relation to Krishna, is in love with Krishna. All our activities in the spiritual world is based on our loving relationship with Krishna. Attainment of Krishna consciousness, even during this life, is immediate attainment of Brahman. And one who is situated in Krishna consciousness has certainly already entered into the kingdom of God. So this is the pure devotee. The pure devotee, attainment of Krishna consciousness means no more material desire. His only desire is to please Krishna. He's already situated in his loving relationship with Krishna. He's in this body, in this material body, but his relationship is established. So he's immediately on the Brahma Bhuta platform. He's on the platform of the spirit soul. He's on the Brahman platform because he's realized that he's not this body. He's understood that he's the spirit soul. He's understood that he's the Brahman. Not only knows about it, not in theory, but understood it, realized it. And he's realized, okay, I'm the Brahman, I'm the spirit soul, and I have a loving relationship with Krishna. So I need to act in that relationship. That a person, he, even while living in this material world, has entered in the kingdom of God. Means he's liberated. He's liberated. Brahman is just the opposite of matter. Brahman is the opposite of matter. Here, whatever we are seeing is matter, made up of these material elements, the material energy. Brahman is eternal. Brahman is spiritual. Therefore, Brahmi Sthiti means not on the platform of material activities. So, Brahmi Sthiti means not thinking about the body, not thinking that I'm acting for the body. Devotional service of the Lord is accepted in the Bhagavad Gita as the liberated stage. Saguna samityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Therefore, Brahmi Sthiti is liberation from material bondage. So in Krishna, in Bhagavad Gita, he is saying that one who is engaged in pure devotional service, pure devotional service, no more material desire, only desire to be engaged in pure service to Krishna. That is liberated platform. That means no more birth, death, old age, and disease. The living entity is no, even though in this material body, his consciousness is with Krishna. He's no more material consciousness. His mind is spiritual, his ego is spiritual, his intelligence is spiritual, because he's situated in his real position. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has summarized the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita as being the contents for the whole text. In the Bhagavad Gita, the subject matters are Karma Yoga, Gyan Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. In the second chapter, Karma Yoga and Gyan Yoga have been clearly discussed, and a glimpse of Bhakti Yoga has also been given as the contents for the complete text. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purports to the second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of its contents. So in this second chapter, Krishna is given the summary of the full Bhagavad Gita. Full Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks about Karma Yoga, about Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. So in this second chapter, Krishna has spoken quite a bit about Karma Yoga. He's spoken quite a bit about Jnana Yoga, and he's spoken a bit about Bhakti. And that's the reason Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of the great acharyas, he has said that this Bhagavad Gita is like a summary of this second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is the summary of the full Bhagavad Gita. Is that okay? Are there any questions or comments? If no, then we'll stop here for today. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. So we can see we want to get liberation. What we have to do, just hear and chant. Hearing and chanting, it will give us this liberation. Hare Krishna.